Welcome to Heaping Spoonful, a twice-monthly conversation with restaurateurs, chefs, growers, and others who have helped generate the legends associated with the eateries across the Mid-South. The team at Benny Keith is proud to sponsor this adventure with the goal of preserving the stories that have helped cultivate an amazing food scene across the Mid-South. So kick back and enjoy a Heaping Spoonful.
Greetings, everybody out there in podcast land, and welcome to another episode of Heaping Spoonful. I'm your host, Kelly Bass, and I really appreciate Benny Keith Foods giving me the chance to visit with so many of the top chefs and restaurateurs across the Mid-South on these podcasts. I've been a foodie before that term was even close to being invented, and for the better part of 30 years, I had the privilege of writing feature stories and reviews about restaurants and chefs for a couple of Little Rock newspapers and then magazines, long before the internet gave everyone a chance to be a food critic, and Lord knows they can now with Yelp and TripAdvisor and all of this. But I will say, I have learned to love talking about food a lot more than I ever liked writing about it. So today, our guest is Todd Gold. He's the director of Food and Beverage at Saracen Casino Resort in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Now, when you hear casino, you likely don't envision what Todd's team is creating in the Saracen restaurants, but stick with us today and prepare to be impressed. We'll spend the bulk of this episode of Heaping Spoonful talking about what's happening at Saracen and how it's really the talk of the state in terms of what it's doing. But we'll also cover earlier chapters in Todd's impressive career, one stop of which had the two of us crossing paths. And just know this, the food Todd and his team created when I worked in the corporate headquarters at Axiom Corporation in Little Rock fueled one of the most impressive rapid weight gaining periods of my life. So welcome, Todd.
Thank you so much, Kelly.
Glad you're here. So Saracen Casino, for those who don't know, and we hope we have listeners all around the world and hopefully maybe on Mars or other celestial properties, Saracen Casino is owned and operated by the Quapaw Nation, and it's named for a Quapaw chief from the 1800s. It kicked off here with a 15,000 square foot annex in 2019, just with slots and maybe a snack bar. But then the real casino opened across the street in 2020, and that we're talking 200,000 square feet. And like many casinos in this part of the world, it was built on a former soybean field. Now, all that, again, sounds like pretty humble beginnings, but wow, the things Todd and his team are doing with the food. So I'm going to walk through the several concepts that make up the Saracen food program, and I'm going to let Todd tell us a little bit about what each of them is about, and then I'll save the best one of those for last. So the most basic spot, you got Saracen Express and Sweets Coffee Shop, and those are kind of your food court concepts. So, but I do hear you serve some pretty fine fried chicken there and lots of it. So Todd, tell us about those related food court concepts.
Yeah, when we rolled out, we actually opened with 4 concepts in that food court: Saracen Express, Coffee and Sweets, Delta Farm, and one other. And it quickly, the customers voted with their pocketbook, and it was all about the fried chicken, the JoJo potatoes, the gizzards, and things of that sort. We have a hot item there, a protein vegetable starch each day. The coffee shop, we sell some coffees. We tried to make it look like a Starbucks in the beginning, and nobody was really interested. They love the coffees, and so we figured out at one point when we had all 4 concepts running that 84% of what customers were getting was the fried chicken. And I tell you what, I try not to eat it too often because I'm trying to watch my waistline too. But it is really delicious. And we sell a lot of it. I tell you what, I haven't really seen other places like KFC or Popeyes, but I guarantee you we give them a run for their money with the number of pieces of chicken we sell.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, and who doesn't love fried chicken, particularly in the South?
Yeah.
And then Quapaw Kitchens, and that's your buffet. But when you hear buffet and you hear casino, don't think about like the Golden Corral. And if there's any Golden Corral fans out there, I'm sorry. Or buffets of that ilk. This isn't just a basic canned food lunch type place like they used to have out on the highway near Benton that I used to eat in high school, Brown's. But
I love that place.
Yeah, but it's not the quality of food that you're doing. So this buffet is open. Quapaw Kitchens is open 4 to 10 p.m. on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and 3 to 10 on Sunday. So tell us the kind of food that you can get there.
Well, when we were gonna, of course, we put the buffet, Quapaw Kitchen's buffet, on pause a little bit when COVID was hitting really strong. But I think we opened it about 8 or 9 months ago with the 4-day-a-week concept, and we really set out to have like a Las Vegas style buffet. Yeah. We wanted it to be an experience, and it is just that. I mean, when you walk in there, there's a dessert island that's as large as any normal buffet you would find anywhere. And then, we have an Asian food area. Of course, we have the carving stations where you'll have the prime ribs and the roasted turkeys and all that, and a huge salad bar. We even have a bar in there, so you can do a drink add-on package.
Yeah, I want to bring that up in a minute. Yeah, caught my eye.
So, I mean, really, when you stop in that buffet, we have something for everybody. And the most popular thing that we do is the crab and the lobster, the snow crab and the
which
lobster.
Is an add-on, right?
Right, it is an add-on.
And I'm assuming, and I haven't investigated this, I'm assuming that the standard buffet is kind of a eat what you want to eat, but I can't imagine the crab and lobster are just open game for all you want to eat.
We did that for a minute, and we learned our lesson. Yeah. We're happy. We food and beverage is an amenity for our guests right now as we're trying to build the event center and the hotel, which is up out of the ground, and we will hopefully be about 24 months out before we open that. But right now we are the amenity for the casino, so we want people to enjoy that. And everything that we do in food.
Right,
and beverage.
but some folks with a big old appetite can really hurt you on lobster. Crab, because that stuff food cost is high on those items.
It's about $15 a pound, and 2 clusters equal a pound. So, we do a $30 add-on, and we offer them 6 clusters. So we're already losing money on that venture. But, prior to that, if somebody took 10 or 15 clusters, it
hurt even worse.
It hurt even worse.
Yeah, but again, like you say, I mean, it's a casino and it's a resort, and it will be when the hotel is up and running and the event center, you'll be having shows and things. But food is a big draw. And again, these days you don't have to get rich on it, but you certainly don't want to be super deep in the red for sure. And again, there's that drink package. And we think about casinos having decent priced drinks, but for $6.50, now it could go up. We're recording this in early February of 2022. So if you're listening to this 5 years from now, I can't swear that's the price. But right now, you get 3 drinks for $6.50. Not 1 drink, 3 drinks, and you can choose beer, wine, a house cocktail, a Bloody Mary, or a mimosa. And I guess you can mix and match or get 3 of 1. That's really a hell of a deal. And I'm sure it's popular. I'm sure those who like to drink probably grab that anytime they go through the buffet.
Yeah, we wanted to do an extension. We have 2 full bars in the casino. We have the Crossroads Center Bar, and then we also have Legend Sports Bar. And then we have our beverage service on the floor that we offer all the guests in the casino. And we have 3 price categories. When it is all the drinks either fall into $1.25, $2.25, or $5.25. $5.25 being the most premium. And so we wanted to stay in line with that, with the bar inside the buffet, and we did that. But yeah, it's pretty popular. You get the 3 little redemption coupons, for lack of a better description, and we do the crab the same way. And you go up there, and if you and your spouse or significant other each buy one, somebody wants 4 and the other wants 2, that's fine.
Sure.
However it works out. But it's pretty popular. Actually, the crab add-on is 3 times as many drink packages.
Oh, I'm sure.
Everybody likes that.
I love lobster, but I think I like crab even better.
Yeah.
So and y'all have a lot of good, we'll mention later, you have a lot of good seafood options in Red Oak Steakhouse, which is your premier. And then there's Legend Sports Bar. And you told me, and we'll get around to talking about it, because the Quapaw Nation has done some amazing things, and particularly in this day and age of people enjoying knowing where their food's coming from. And you said that the downstream casino in Oklahoma that was the second of the Quapaw Nation's casino, they have a Legend Sports Bar. And when I look at that menu, I mean, it's like what you find at any good sports bar. I mean, you got quesadillas, you got chicken tenders, chili cheese fries, catfish basket, a couple salads, several burger choices, fish tacos. I mean, it's sort of like you were saying on the buffet. I don't think you could go in there and not find something that you like.
I tell you, the two most popular things are the ribs and the chicken wings, and we do the full chicken wings, not the small ones.
That's the way I like them.
Yeah, that's really good. And we have, I think, 4 different sauces that you can choose with that, and those are really, really popular, and people love that in there. And it's really nice. You come in and you can sit on the restaurant side. The bar is in the middle, which separates on the other side of the bar is our sports book.
Right.
And we offer food service in all 3 areas. But, in the middle of our bar are big brew tanks, that are encased in glass. So it's kind of fun. And a lot of days you can see our brewer up there working in there. So it's really unique experience.
Well, that's one thing that is advertised often when Saracen Casino Resort is discussed. It's 40-minute drive from Little Rock, which is and Little Rock's the bigger population center, but some fairly decent sized population centers, including Pine Bluff, are not nearly that far. And no matter what my gambling habits are or were, if I lived anywhere even closer, man, what a great place to go watch a ball game, get a brew, and have a big time. So, and there are 2 steaks on that menu. I saw a ribeye and a KC strip, and both 100% black Angus beef. So you got a high quality steak in there. I mean, you're known for your steaks in Red Oak Steakhouse, but I am sure the same care is given to the steaks that are served in Legends. Just like they're a different cut, but just same kind of folks know how to cook them just like they know how to cook them at Red Oak.
Absolutely. A little different process of how we grill those in Legends versus Red Oak, but yeah, the same high quality meat.
Sure. And then there is the signature restaurant. It's arguably one of the very best restaurants, the Red Oak Steakhouse, definitely in the state of Arkansas. And again, you're doing things that you just don't see a menu just like that. Even at really renowned steak houses like Sonny Williams, there's several places in Little Rock that are known for steaks. I've eaten at steakhouses in New York and Las Vegas, and I have not seen a menu looks quite like that. And my wife Ashley and I joined my sister and brother-in-law on their 45th wedding anniversary for a glorious meal at Red Oak. And thankfully, even though it was their anniversary, they were picking up the tab, which never makes me mad. And of course, you weren't there. And they told us, I think you and Carlton Safa, who's one of the main guys there and certainly the public face, I think y'all were down at Oaklawn Racing Casino Resort checking it out, which makes perfect sense to see what your competition is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, it's to your demise.
Well, yeah, sure. You got to know what they're doing. I'm sure that they've come to check you out.
Oh, yeah, many times.
Sure.
Yeah.
It just makes sense because y'all are both I need to go back and I like Oaklawn. I like horse races, but I haven't really checked out their dining options. I don't believe, of course, they've added their hotel and stuff, so maybe they've got something on this level. I don't know, but we're going to talk more about the cuisine in a minute. But I know how people are, and they're like, "Ooh, that sounds really fancy. I don't think I want to put on a coat and tie and go in there." And I doubt you want somebody walking in gym shorts and a tank top, but it's billed as comfortable elegance. And I think for my doings there, that sums it up pretty well. You got people, I was wearing like a collared shirt and a pair of khakis or a pair of jeans, but it's not like super, you got to be, black tie to walk into Red Oak.
Absolutely. We want you to be comfortable. And, one unique thing, and COVID played a role in this, but they're all still hanging out with me, so I'll take that as a compliment. When 111 in the Capitol went down, the wait staff and the bartenders, Tim, one guy that was in the bar for 15 years at the Capitol, they're all now at Red Oak. And so I jokingly say it's the Capitol /111 South, but I have the whole crew there, and they just do an outstanding job. The service is second to none. And with that, I ate at 111 more times than I care to admit. Sometimes if you came in there, you could probably get in a pair of jeans, but you might feel uncomfortable depending on the time of day. You never feel that way in Red Oak. We want you there. And of course, Tim's behind our bar now, which is the first thing you see when you walk in the door. And I cannot tell you how many regulars just go there and they want to sit at the bar and eat at the bar so they can talk to Tim. And so,
I know. Well, Tim Strammel you can see that shining bald head when you walk into Red Oak. And you could at the Capitol as well. And then he was at Sirloin's Inn, which was a renowned and famous steak place in North Little Rock. Tim's one of the only bartenders that I've just said, hey, I kind of like dark rum. Just make me something. I've done it with chefs, but I have rarely done it with bartenders. So, when I walked in, I was like, oh, man, it doesn't get any better or more enduring
Great little sidebar there with Tim. I got to the point where I couldn't drink bourbon anymore. It always gave me a headache, and I loved an old-fashioned. He said, let me make you something. So he made me a Casa Amigos tequila old-fashioned, and that's all I drink anymore. He's the one that put me on that. So it's just, he's creative. He takes love and care with his food service and his
well, I'm sure that sometimes you thank him for that, sometimes you curse him for that.
Well, maybe.
I know how that goes.
Depends on the night, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to tell our Heaping Spoonful listeners to go to www.Saracen Resort. And Saracen is Saracen, since we're talking and then you can't see it. Saracen resort.com. Click on the dining tab and then work your way to the Red Oak menu because we can't cover it all on this podcast. But just to summarize it, and I start at the top and work my way down. So the appetizer section is full of tempting choices. And I'm telling you, I could combine a couple of those and make a meal out of it and never get below that level.
Absolutely.
Jumbo lump crab cake, I had that when I was there. I see that. You can generally tell by the price. If that's $9, it's not really a jumbo lump crab cake. So much filler. I'll pay a decent price, and this is not exorbitantly priced. Arkansas root beer glazed pork belly. I love pork belly. 60-day dry-aged smoked brisket. I also had that. And then the superstar, the Saracen Kobe experience. So people hear about Kobe beef, and Kobe beef is one of the 3 or 4 types of beef on that Kobe experience, but there's 3 ounces of Kobe. But few have ever had the real deal. They've heard. Am I correct or am I crazy that Red Oak is the only restaurant in Arkansas that serves certified Kobe beef?
Yeah, so we are a certified Kobe location, and the way, and as a matter of fact, it's not just Arkansas. We're the only one in the South. Now, there's plenty in the Midwest and the North and West Coast and East Coast, et cetera. I think a total of 18 locations in the U.S. that are certified to serve it, but we are the only one in the South. And that certification is an investment. It's about $7,000 a year before you even purchase product investment. But you get the nice trophy from the Kobe farmers in Japan and all the other things that come along with it, and the right to buy the certified Kobe, and that's what's important. Others may say that they have it in the South, but it's kind of like buying a Rolex on the street in New York. Are you really getting a Rolex, or are you it's
a good knockoff?
That's the best way I can explain it to you.
Because there's other good beef that other people have, Wagyu, and y'all have that too, and just prime quality beef. But that is a completely different experience. Well, listen, everybody, thanks for checking in on this episode of Heaping Spoonful. We're going to take a short break and be right back in a bit with Todd Gold, Director of Food and Beverage at Saracen Casino Resort in Pine Bluff, Arkansas.
I hope you're enjoying this episode of Heaping Spoonful. We at Benny Keith Foods enjoy talking about the food scene almost as much as we enjoy providing the top quality ingredients that help restaurateurs and chefs across the Mid-South create their magic. Now let's dive even deeper into the culinary world with your host, Kelly Bass.
All right, welcome back to Heaping Spoonful as we continue our conversation with Todd Gold. We're going to talk more right now about some of the wonderful choices on the Red Oak Steakhouse menu. So the first thing I see is bison tenderloin. Is it easy to explain to the casual listener of how bison is different than beef in terms of texture and taste?
Not so much. I can tell you that a lot of the bison herd that's out there this day has been blended with cattle herd.
Okay.
And we take careful care. We actually test our bison when they come on our farms to make sure they're about 97% pure bison. And so that's a big deal. It's unique, but very similar to eating beef.
It's fairly. I remember knowing it's fairly lean.
Now Carlton Saffa, we mentioned him earlier. He only eats the bison tenderloin. He swears by it. He loves it better than he loves the beef.
Well, he might not know. He's down there all the time checking it all out. And you said in your herds and on your farms. Again, we're broadcasting and recording this at Benny Keith Foods. Benny Keith is a good partner of yours, but you all create a lot of the things that are the signature items. So let's talk. Yes, there's bison. What else does the Quapaw Nation produce that you serve at Saracen Casino Resort?
And I'll take a little sidebar here for a minute. when I was still, and I know we're going to talk a little later about the culinary school, when I was still the dean at the culinary school, and they decided to potentially start this project, I met with the folks from Downstream. They came down here to see me, and they wanted to partner with me. And so I went to Downstream, and that just for a visit at that time. And that's actually the moment that I was sold, when I saw everything they had at the Downstream Casino Resort. First off, they have their own coffee roasting company, so I love to say we're bean to cup.
Yeah.
Their own greenhouses and some fields where they grow some things too. And so
vegetables and things you all use?
Oh, yeah. So I love to say we're farm to table there. Our own cattle and bison and our own processing plant, so we're pasture to plate.
Yeah.
And then, of course, at the casino, we brew our own beers. So I say, we're hops and barley to glass. So I think I don't know anybody else that can claim all those four categories like we do, but I'm proud of it, and I kind of stick my chest out a little bit when I talk about it. I think it's really cool.
Well, it would have been cool in 1993, but as everyone is focused more, on what would in the long ago, everything was farm to table because we didn't have big refrigerated trucks driving, English peas across the country.
Yeah.
But and it's not just. And I love, and we've talked to so many folks on Heaping Spoonful who work with local farmers and stuff. But you are your own farmers.
Yeah, we are.
And somebody had a really great vision with that, because that's a whole other operation. Raising cattle and growing vegetables and roasting coffee. That's well beyond the hospitality world of great restaurants and cool casinos and event centers. So thumbs up to the folks at Saracen for having the vision to do that. And then there's so many other compelling choices. There's 4 seafood options again, and then that doesn't include the steaks, because that's the bottom chunk of the menu, and it's where I think it really separates out from what I've seen in other places. And in the steak section, you've got 3 bone-in choices. That includes a tribal dry-aged ribeye, which is a 24-ounce monster. I guess tribal means that's beef that the Quapaw Nation raised.
That's right. And it's a beautiful cut. It's very flavorful. And, you're either a dry-aged person or you're not. I depending on the week you ask me, I'll tell you one way or the other.
Yeah.
But it just gives it such a nutty flavor, and it's such a great add to the experience.
Sure. And then you've got a massive porterhouse, and we love it. That's when, Doe's is well known for steaks, and porterhouse is the king steak there. And then you've got a pepper-encrusted lamb. So, I love lamb, and again, every time I record a Heaping Spoonful, I have like 19 things that I want to come eat. At least you're 40 minutes from me. Some of these places in Mississippi and Alabama, I'm going to take a little longer road trip.
Yeah.
And then you got 3. A lot of people love a strip. You got a dry aged strip, a Wagyu, and then the Kobe. Mm-hmm. And there it is again, an A5. I guess I don't know if that has. It's A5 Kobe, and it reappears in the fillet section because you've got. First off, you've got 6 and 8 ounce prime fillets, and prime is a fabulous cut of beef, and then you've got a 5 ounce Kobe. So let's not also forget ribeyes. We mentioned the dry age earlier, but you got a 16 ounce prime dry age. You got bison, and you got the 8 ounce Kobe ribeye. So. It's not the low price leader. It's a unique experience, and you're the only one in the South that's certified to serve it. Do y'all sell a pretty good amount of Kobe?
We do, and we actually offer it at cost. So we don't make a dime on it. And if you add our annual fees in there, we probably lose money on the venture. But we wanted to offer our guests that unique experience. And what we actually offer is A511. A5 is the best grade you can get on a piece of beef. 11 is the level of marbling. So the very top is A512. We get A511. It's just to look at that piece of meat before it's cooked and to see the marbling in it is an experience in itself. It's just unbelievable. But yeah, we definitely just wanted to give our guests that opportunity. We're actually Chef Joe Coleman, my executive chef at Red Oak. We've been working on some menu changes, and we've always set out not to be just the best steakhouse, and I know some local folks have voted us that lately, and we are so appreciative of the recognition. But we want to be the best restaurant in Arkansas, and that's what we've set out to do, and we're continuing to work on that. And so absolutely more to come with our menu.
Cool.
I would be crazy if I didn't mention there is a very unique salad we have at Red Oak. And we do the typical buffalo mozzarella and balsamic reduction and tomatoes and all that good stuff on there. But we do a basil sorbet in the middle of it.
Ooh.
Oh, yes. And when Chef Joe first put that together about 6 months ago for a dinner, it ended up on the menu after. He said, make sure to get a little bite of everything, a little tomato, a little mozzarella, a little balsamic reduction, and that basil sorbet in your mouth all at the same time. And it's just undescribable, the explosion of flavors that happen in your mouth when you eat that.
Because, we all have known restaurants that specialize in steak, and sometimes they really don't do a whole lot else. I mean, you'll have a baked potato and salad and some vegetables, grilled asparagus or something. But, again, if you don't even like steak, which I don't know who doesn't, but I mean, assuming you're not a vegetarian, I mean, there's all kinds of great stuff to get at Red Oak that's, like I said, I feasted on crab cake and loved it. So
yeah, our sides, the forbidden rice, the lobster macaroni, it's just, it goes on and on. There's just so many great sides. The truffled potatoes, it's
and again, and we'll talk more about your other ventures, but you've got a management team above you that lets you do what you do well and lets you hire great people like Joe and others to do it. And it's got to be fun because you've got some leeway to push the envelope a little bit and do some stuff that's not being done. And again, it's got to be kind of makes you feel freed up to really realize the whole potential.
Absolutely. And I say this a lot after, 25 years with the culinary program, in the dean's seat, that could have easily been my final position.
Sure.
And I always said it would really take something special, unique, and it sparks my interest. I'm always a project guy, so the first thing that caught my mind was, hey, I'm coming in, or caught my eye was, hey, I'm coming into a big construction project, a $500 million construction project. That's awesome. I had built the culinary school. I had helped build the arts building and a couple restaurants previously, and I just really love that kind of stuff. But, it was, hey, you can do what you want. You can bring in the team, build that culinary and hospitality dream team, which I think I have done. And just to have the freedom to do that is really what got me to consider coming.
Sure, because, okay, I mean, we've done a great job putting the spotlight on all the amazing things that you're doing there, and again, you're putting in good context about how the management is of the casino and the Quapaw Nation have given you, I don't know, free reign's the right word, but certainly a lot of leeway to do things you want to. So now let's look back at some other highlights of your impressive and long career. First, I go to LinkedIn to make sure I'm not forgetting anything, and I see Todd Gold, WCEC, WCCE, CEC, CCA, AAC. I'm guessing the C either has chef or culinary in it, but are those just all organizations that bestow certifications once you've reached a certain level? Is that kind of how all that is?
Sure. So the ones with the W in front of it, that's World Chefs. And so It's a World Chef, Certified Executive Chef, and World Chef, Certified Culinary Educator.
Right.
And then the ones without the W in front of it is the American Culinary Federation. So it's a Certified Executive Chef, Certified Culinary Administrator. And the AAC is the American Academy of Chefs. There's about 6 of us from Arkansas that have been inducted into the American Academy of Chefs. Wow. I used to describe it to people, it's kind of like working on your doctorate degree. There was a portfolio that was 9 inches thick that I had to submit. And so myself and Jamie McAfee and a few other chefs, Kevin G. In the state of Arkansas, Duke Iman, one of our great chefs that are no longer with us. We are the 5 or 6 or so that have been inducted into the American Academy of Chefs from Arkansas, and so that's a big deal.
Sure, that is.
That's kind of the pinnacle of your culinary hospitality career.
Yeah, that's fabulous. And again, as you said, if you'd stopped, we're going to talk now about your last stop before Saracen. When you've mentioned it, the culinary school at UA Pulaski Tech. And you led that program for 15 years, and so talk about how that program came to be, because it started small and with really fairly humble beginnings. But first off, what the students are creating and what's happening is very, very impressive. But the building and the facilities, and I've been out there many a time, are really top of the line. How did that whole thing get going? Because I know there's a pretty decent story behind it.
There is. It's really a really interesting story. So in the late 80s and early 90s, the Central Arkansas chapter of the American Culinary Federation started an apprenticeship program. In 92, when I got back from culinary school, Ed Horniak and Bob Wolf said, you need to come to an ACF meeting, you need to run for a position. So that's how I got there, fresh out of culinary school. And I saw what was going on with the apprenticeship program, and it wasn't doing well. Kind of like the road to hell was paved with good intentions, that kind of deal. And so we had 3 students enrolled, and we were struggling. We were struggling for funds. The teachers were donating their time. Nobody was getting paid to do anything. Right. It wasn't working well. And so it ultimately ended up in late 2004 with a motion from the chapter to dissolve the apprenticeship program, and that was accepted. I came in the next meeting with the idea of starting it again and giving it a name, which at that time became the Arkansas Culinary School. And I was given the leeway from the chapter to do that, separate it from the chapter and start it on its own. So I incorporated it as the Arkansas Culinary School, a 501c3.
Okay.
Had about 8 students that were interested in coming at the time. We just slowly grew.
No affiliation with the college, but where were you operating out of?
We were operating out of the second floor of Quality Foods. So Don Kirkpatrick and Philip Tappan, and that's my connection to Philip Tappan, which we later went into business at Purple Cow. But they just let me have the space for free. And we operated out of there, and slowly every semester or year, we would add a couple new students. Back then, it was a 3-year apprenticeship program. And as we grew, 2005, that kind of time, I don't know earlier if I said 95. 95 is when we incorporated it. But fast forward 10 years to 2005, that's when we had about 47 students. And the students were really interested in associate degrees. At the time, Michael Drake and Mayor Hayes in North Little Rock were really interested in partnering with us to build something in North Little Rock. It was kind of their answer to losing the presidential library. They wanted to build something on the river and have the culinary school in it. And as I'm working with Mayor Hayes and Michael Drake, I say, I really got to figure out a way to go from certificates to associate's degrees. And Michael Drake said, let's run up the hill and meet with Dr. Bakke and Carol Langston at Pulaski Tech. And that is exactly...
And Carol, know him well.
That's exactly how it happened. And a week later, I was in their office. A week later, Dr. Bakke, who never let any grass grow under his feet, we were in front of the Board of Trustees. And what the Department of Higher Ed wanted us to do was form a partnership where they were teaching our gen eds, we were teaching the rest. Then the Department of Higher Ed, as they do sometimes, they kind of changed their mind and said, I don't know, I think you need a more firm partnership. Right. So I went back to Dr. Bakke, and this was all in a matter of a month. We had a special Board of Trustees meeting, and we decided in November of 2006 to merge the 2 entities. Wow. And, that was an interesting moment for me, to be honest with you. Looking back, you can tell this story. But there was about $350,000 that I had tied up and tied to my name with that nonprofit, trying to keep it up and going. And so it was the kind of thing that kept you up at night. You're wondering if it's going to be successful. You're wondering if you're going to be able to do it. And so it was a great moment when we merged with Pulaski Tech for the students first and foremost, but for the organization as well, too. And I tell you what, we walked November of 2006 with 47 students in the merger. And we looked up 2 semesters later and had 100 and something students. Another semester later is 200 and something students. And before you knew it, I topped out at 467 students. We were offering associate's degrees in culinary arts, baking and pastry, hospitality management, wine credentials. Somewhere along the path there, Lori and Ken Lipsmeyer joined me, and we started offering those WSET credentials. And, of course, Lori and I had the connection from Axiom like you and I do.
Right.
But it's really, when you look at it now, I guess we're 26, 27 years later for the whole timeline, and you look back at it, and there's so many opportunities that we could have hit that enormous brick wall that we couldn't get around. But somehow we always found our way around. And there were some great guys and gals that were involved in the beginning, from Ginger Price to Ed Horniak to Don Bingham to Kevin G to Jamie McAfee, and Rob Best. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. They were all there with me in the beginning when we were doing this and supporting me, questioning me, but supporting me along the way. And, it's just, we were really blessed to get to where the culinary school ended.
Well, sure. And that's the thing, too, is some of the names you mentioned. I mean, these are some of the top chefs. And, Rob Best had restaurants, but he also had big catering operation.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, it's nice to have the support of some of the leading lights and all of that. When did the fabulous facility that's out at the Saline-Pulaski County line get built?
So there's some interesting stories there, too. I'm sure
there's a lot of talk about trying to do it downtown.
And I was in the midst of all that.
Sure.
And it was really all of what was the best for the students. I love the one that we put together on Main Street that was a 6-story building, and we were going to share parking in the garage. It was, it was a great idea, and I loved it, but it ended up being about $8 million more to build it downtown than it was out there. So that was the deciding factor. But it was one of those things. We decided we needed a new arts building at the college, and there was a year that Governor Beebe had awarded us $13.5 million out of his discretionary funds to build the culinary school, and that was the same year/session that he decided he couldn't fund his discretionary projects. So we had a lot of things like that where we got excited, we had it, and then we didn't have it. So we ultimately, the Board of Trustees at Pulaski Tech, did bonds. They did a bond issue for the arts building and the culinary school. We had 15 plus $2.5 million from the foundation. So for $17.5 million, we built that 60,000 square foot facility with Kinko Contractors. And here's the one I always love to tell. My juices get flowing when I start talking about construction. I was the project owner of that. Lo and behold, 1 month after I started the project, Dr. Bakke retired. So I was really out there on an island building this building. But 13 months from the day we peeled back the first piece of asphalt to the day I had a culinary student walk in the front door to be educated in that building, 13 months, 60,000 square feet. I had 105 subcontractors in there at every moment just going.
That is craziness.
And that's the stuff I love right there.
Oh, yeah, I can tell. But, I mean, and for good reason.
Yeah.
That is really cool. And so now all these years later, I mean, you start talking about your team at Red Oak and at Saracen in general. You got a lot of folks that talk about the team you've built there and the Pulaski Tech culinary operations impact on that.
Yeah, absolutely. When I set out to take the job at Saracen, and I am, by the way, still a part-time faculty at the culinary school. I teach a class.
You don't want to completely untethered from it.
And then they asked me to be their advisory board chairman, so I play that role too. But I didn't want to take all the great people from the culinary school. That's not a sign of a good leader. You don't do that. You want to. I had a provost once tell me a sign of a good leader is someone who he or she could leave the place they're at and it continues to run as if he or she's still there. And that's always kind of stuck in my head. So there was a few players out there that had worked with me at the culinary school that had gone on to do other things. Chef Cindy East, she was my lead instructor at the culinary school.
Cindy, know her well.
Yeah, when we merged, helped me write the curriculum, but she had moved on to be the corporate chef for what is the tacos place? I'm sorry, it just spaced it.
Tacos for Life?
Yeah, Tacos for Life. Sorry, I spaced that name right there.
Right.
And so we ran into each other when I knew I was going to Saracen, and I said, hey, I need you, and I convinced her to come along. Manley Clark, Chef Manley Clark, one of our graduates from the culinary program, he was also at Tacos for Life. He's now our executive chef. Tyrone Fox, another one of our graduates. Joe Coleman was involved in the apprenticeship program and with Ginger Price out and the high school program out there in, what was it, Jacksonville, North Pulaski is what they used to call Jacksonville High School. And so there's just a lot of little people. One of the great ones, still connected to culinary school. Paul Novicki used to teach classes for me when I was on Asher Avenue and Quality Foods. Paul Novicki's with me now and doing restaurant operations. And so the list goes on and on.
Ken Lipsmeyer, your wine guy, right?
Oh, Ken Lipsmeyer, yeah. So Ken's playing dueling roles. He's still teaching full-time at the culinary school, but he's also our beverage manager at the casino.
Well, then I know you're going to have good stuff. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So before you came to Pulaski Tech, which, again, I mean, all the steps along the way from a 3 apprentice program that didn't work to 7 or 8, being on the second floor of Quality Foods, and then building up to 400 students. I mean, and beyond that, building an amazing 60,000 square foot building. You talked about Philip Tappan, that you guys were co-owners and operators of Purple Cow, which is really a long-standing, popular Little Rock restaurant that specializes, I think it's safe to say, burgers, milkshakes, kid-friendly, even a purple milkshake.
Absolutely.
So and Purple Cow was one of the restaurants that came out of that great Jock and Suzanne's. Was it Paul Bash was involved?
Absolutely. Continental cuisine.
Continental cuisine.
And so my connection to the group, other than I was a busboy at Maison Louis, I was a busboy at 1620. My real culinary connection was that I when I came out of culinary school, I went to work for Denny Sayer at Alouette's La Casa Creek. And so that
probably the top of the line offshoot of the Jock and
absolutely. And he was part of that continental cuisine group. And I used to always tell everybody, I went to culinary school, I graduated, I came and I went to work for Denny, and I feel like I learned as much, if not more, working for Denny than I did in culinary school. Sure. It's just almost 2 years with Denny. And it's just, so that was my connection. Paul Bash and I knew each other. And strangely enough, I'll bring Paul Novicki back into the conversation. I was at Axiom, and Philip had an idea. He had come out of Quality Foods. They had just sold Quality Foods Performance Food Group. And Philip had an idea that we would find something and do it together as business partners. And we looked at a few things. We even looked at Panera Bread, for this market before somebody else got it here. And Paul Novicki called me one day and said, "Hey, I've been talking to Paul Bash about this, and it's not going to work out for me, but I know that you and Philip are looking for something. You ought to go talk to Paul Bash." And we did. We did our due diligence, and after a couple months of that, the stars aligned. And I should mention Ed Moore, too, who was his business partner. Ed's a great guy. We decided to do it. And so that was in 2007. And we decided to love everything that Paul did, love the concept, but a lot of things were like handwritten in 3-ring binders. And so we wanted to bring it into this day and age, with recipes and operational manuals and policies and procedures and get it to a franchisable or something that we could grow and add units to. And so we had the two here in Little Rock, Chenal and Cantrell, and then we added the Hot Springs location.
Right.
My exit there was when I was building the culinary school in 2013. When I started building the culinary school, our new chancellor came in, Dr. Ellaby, and I was just the director of the programs there, so I was juggling both Purple Cow and the culinary school, and she said that she wanted to make us a division and make me the dean. And so that is what initiated me to sell my part. But from 2007 to 2013, I did the Purple Cows, and Philip, of course, still has them today, and he's got locations in Conway and North Little Rock, and they've continued to grow that, and it's beautiful. His business partner Ken has done a great job over there, and so they've
that's just quite a legacy. And then, of course, again, you were corporate chef at Axiom, which is a big data management company based in Little Rock, now based in Conway. Started in Conway. And how long were you at Axiom?
98 to 07. So it was.
And I was 99 to 08. So we were there. 7 of our years overlapped.
Yeah.
Oh no, and we had some good times. It was a great company, and we all ultimately worked for Charles Morgan, who was the CEO for 35 years, and built a great team. And it's one of the companies that Arkansas should be proudest of because it's a very information economy type of place, and. We both still have dear friends there, so that's great.
Yep.
Well, listen, Todd, you've had a long, successful career, and you must be having fun setting the curve for Arkansas restaurants at Saracen Casino Resort. And I'll tell you, I mean, for those in Arkansas, you just don't think about this kind of thing happening in Pine Bluff. Pine Bluff's on the way back up, and Pine Bluff was one of the second largest city in Arkansas a while. Like a lot of cities that were agriculture based and things, it's had its down times, but there are a lot of people with forward Pine Bluff pushing it on back up and rebuilding a lot of Main Street. But the infusion of jobs and capital and visitors and money into where you're working is going to be one of the biggest things that's happened in that part of the state ever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's some outside groups that are working real hard to maybe take a look like they did in Northwest Arkansas, pick a couple blocks and try to get something going. And there's some outside groups I'm working with right now to hopefully make that happen. And, if we get a couple successful restaurants going, maybe a brewery or two in downtown Pine Bluff, you never know. We can turn the corner and start bringing a lot of people back there. It's a great town. It's got great people. It's got lots of potential. And and like you said, it's just had a rough 8 or 10 years, and it's time to bring the spotlight back.
Well,
to it.
this is and a lot of that kind of growth is incremental, and that's how you have to do it. You got to do it grassroots, one brewery, one restaurant at a time. But you guys have come in with a $500 million project, and what you said, you all had a truck giveaway, and you had over 10,000 guests who came on one night.
Yeah. And
I mean, that is driving the economy, and so I'm proud of the whole operation, and I'm proud of what you're up to. So I appreciate you being my guest today on Heaping Spoonful. Good luck in all you're doing. It's cool to hear you've got you and your chef have some new concepts to add to the Red Oak menu, and very few new food operations have made the splash as impressive as Saracen Splash, and I can't wait for my next visit. Ashley's all keyed up. We're ready to go back. Thanks to everybody who's listened today to Heaping Spoonful. To remind you, we post new episodes on the first and third Tuesday of each month. So keep an eye and an ear out for those, and go back and check out the ones you've missed. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Heaping Spoonful. On behalf of all of us at Benny Keith Foods, Mid-South Division, please know how much we love connecting you with the legends of the culinary scene and their unique stories. I look forward to the next time we can offer you another Heaping Spoonful.